When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle. Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish.
The podcast that wonders if, when Bernie Sanders orgasms, does he jizz universal basic sin cum?
Spell cum?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sin cum.
Yes. That's what I call my jizz, is sin cum.
Great. I'm Mike Johnson.
Jesus made me do it. I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today
you sound wonderful, Mike.
Thank you. So first, I apologize for last week, everybody. Believe it or not, what you're hearing right now is a dramatic improvement.
I've been paying close attention to your progress based on the voice text that you've been sending, and yeah you sound great comparatively.
Comparatively, yeah. It's been a lot. I almost died. Not really, but everything
sounds more dramatic.
Everything's better if it sounds more dramatic.
You're gay. It's dramatic. We so rarely in our lives take a week off. It's something we pride ourselves on, actually. And so that might have been like, I don't know, the fourth time, or it's been a handful of times that we've taken a week off. So
yeah. Maybe we should do more often.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I like that. I like being able to brag about that. You know, all the big podcasts are like, well, we're taking a week off because, you know, my child died or whatever thing. And you're like, come on, nut up.
Well, and we decided early on not to do seasons because that's stupid.
Yeah. Our season is season 1. It's
Forever.
all of it. All of it forever. Yeah. So anyway, sorry about last week. Blame Mike.
It's all my fault.
Not me.
100% my fault. Hold Kyle blameless, everyone.
Yeah, just hold me.
We're going to talk about Qatar.
We're going to talk about FIFA and that country you said.
Yep.
Which even when I looked up how to pronounce it, people were saying like the Americanized pronunciation. They were like, it's not Qatar, it's Qatar. But it's like there's even more to it that you're doing better than I. I'm not going to attempt the Qatar. Like that's not just your throat. That's how you're supposed to pronounce it.
I'm so good at Arabic right now with my voice being what it is. Yeah,
it was planned. Yes. You should have been seeing a bunch in the news about FIFA and Qatar. So we'll talk more about that in mere moments.
But first, there is 100 words in our email, but there's a special request in that email for me to do a dramatic reading, and I want my voice to be better for that. So just hang on one more week, Tim.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Yes. And if you want to send in 100 words to get in the queue, then you have to have the $15 level of Patreon, and then send them over whenever you want.
Yep. Feedback and corrections. Real quick, a couple of small corrections. One small correction.
Okay.
It was widely reported that it was a drag queen that had stepped on the head of the shooter at Club Q during the shooting. There's now mixed reporting that there was possibly a trans person that did that, and that calling them a drag queen was incorrect. I tend to believe that reporting. Yeah. So, anyway, just like it was unintentional, but that person wasn't a drag queen. Yeah, probably.
And it's so interesting these days how a tweet then is like, everyone starts retweeting it, and then you're like, journalism, like, did anyone verify this tweet? See, what if this tweet is to be believed, which I have no reason not to, but I also, then it was just, they said it really well. They seem to either have been there or know this person, and just say like, wasn't a drag queen, was a trans woman. And I don't think the person that said it was a drag queen knew that. So now that we know, let's correct it, which was a very straightforward and fair way to be like, that's wrong. Now we know. Now let's fix it. And I love that approach.
Yep. Me too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just a couple of updates to ongoing news stories. Singapore did actually finally overturn their anti-sodomy law. It had been proposed to be overturned months and months ago, and we reported on it. But it's actually happened now.
Are we in the news segment yet?
Yeah. Okay.
I already played the news theme song.
Here's the news. Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News.
We don't have to have been in.
Fucking lay off me, Kyle. I'm sick.
Just don't know. I don't know. I just don't know where I just need an empty space where the news theme song goes.
That's our editor's problem.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That asshole.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I know.
A couple of updates to ongoing news stories. Singapore has finally actually overturned their anti-sodomy
I'm
laws.
engaged now because I know we're in the news section.
Right,
it's really like, I'm just excited about the news.
You really turn it up.
Now I know where we are and what I'm doing. Once in my life.
People don't realize that during the news theme song, you do a line of coke, and that's how we get through it.
I mean, just like Dan Rather used to back in the 60s.
Yep.
Did all of that make sense?
That's why they called him Old Snow Stash.
I thought that was Santa. Santa does a line of coke. That's how he stays up and goes around the world.
God help us, Kyle. Are we going to get through this episode?
Do more coke?
And the other ongoing story that I just have to report on, I said that as soon as the CDC figured out what they wanted to rename monkeypox to, I would let you all know what they decided to rename it to.
Yeah.
The big winner? Mpox.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid.
We were
fucking stupid.
We were going MPX for a while.
It took you months to come up with that, and it's not even that good. Which I think we knew we were going to be. I knew I was going to be disappointed. I think I even said so at the time.
Yeah.
Mpox.
I mean,
nobody knows what the M stands for, Kyle. It can't be racist anymore. Like,
naming a disease has to be one of the worst jobs ever. That is a thankless job, no matter what you what person is going into I'm in charge for the branding of monkeypox.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Mpox. Call it that.
You just dead named Mpox.
Fuck, you're right.
Don't dead name people, everybody. Yeah. Okay, news the first.
All right. God. And we play the news theme song again.
Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News. You can do whatever you want to, as many times as
You're
want
sick.
to.
This is Kyle's show. You're just a witness to this show. If your voice stops working in the middle of this, you're gonna have to type down what you want to say, and I'm gonna have to read your side of the conversation.
Yeah. Well, last week's plan was for me to type it and for Derek to say it, and he can't talk either. Not because we made out, but just because
you sucked his dick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, news the first.
Coming soon to the news, the lawsuit of Gayest Media Incorporated by our production assistant.
He knew what he was signing up for.
That is very true.
Okay.
I can't look into his video.
I can't either.
Don't just pretend like he's fine with it.
What the hell are they calling this thing?
Derek.
No.
Oh.
No.
Mpox?
The Senate, in the United States, the Senate has passed marriage equality protections that are meant to protect our right to marriage equality in the United States in the case that the Supreme Court overturns the Obergefell v. Hodges decision.
Wow.
I know.
You did worse than I did sometimes.
I'm a Obergefell
Schmies Hodges. Yeah, I remember that one.
It's interesting because Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin, who is a Mo herself, well, or at least part of the LGBTQ diaspora, had a lot to do with it getting through. It passed 61 to 36, so that means 36 Republicans now are on record as saying that they still don't like gay shit.
Yeah.
Not surprised. I kind of figured it would be more.
Yeah.
That would be against us.
I mean, so many say vocally that not vocally, they say out loud with their words, no, I'm fine with it. And then when you go and look at the records, look at what's written in their fucking Republican Constitution or whatever, it says, I don't support it. So you can't, it's just, you are, again, we need to keep voting on LGBT rights because we need to keep updating their records and know how they currently stand. Because a lot of people can just be like, oh no, that was how I felt last week. I totally changed, so I'd rather get that shit down because they hate gay people. I don't care. It's written, it's there, the proof is there, and it's just, I don't know. Sorry, it's the truth.
Well, and one part that people don't hear, one thing I didn't hear this week a lot is that if you can pass by a simple majority these protections, they can also be removed that quickly, right? Like the Republicans can and will at some point take back power and can totally undo this. Unlike constitutional rights that are enshrined in the Constitution as interpreted by our judicial system,
right?
It is still tenuous, but it's better than nothing. At least now, if Obergefell v. Hodges gets turned over and it gets remanded back to the states to decide, there's a federal protection in place.
Yeah.
For God knows how long, but
yeah. I mean, everyone, like, you want everyone in whatever their sphere is to do what they can, and so, you know, they have done this, like, they have at least done this thing, and that's within their sphere of influence that they can do. They can't control the courts, they can encourage or oversight or whatever they do for the courts, but this is what they could do, and they did it. So I'm appreciative of that.
Yep. The bill repeals the 1996 Defense of Marriage Act and establishes into federal law that same-sex marriages in one state must be recognized by another. So that basically opens the door to federal protections, even though the state of Texas, for instance, is unlikely to be pro same-sex marriage in a post-Obergefell world. Those people could still travel to relatively nearby Colorado, get married there, and then Texas would be forced to recognize their Colorado marriage, even though they're Texas residents.
Right. It's like planning for, in the case like abortion, where, okay, went back to the states, and now the states get to decide, well, it's like, okay, if it does go back to the states, you still have to recognize the states that say it's legal.
Correct.
Cool.
Yep. Which is still a problem, right? There are people who might not be able to afford to leave their backward-ass stupid state to get married. There's still potential problems, but again, better than nothing.
Yeah.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah. But I saw very quick action on marriage equality, and I feel like I don't know if it's even a fair comparison. I don't feel like I've seen the same urgency around trans rights or legislation to support trans people. And I think where that's coming from, and I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if we would have the same votes that we did for a bill like this. I just, one of the criticisms is in the LGBTQ plus community, we often go for the benefits that focus on cis gay men, like that tends to be, and lesbians, you know, but those are the communities less so than the people of color in our community, the trans people in our community, the disabled people in our community. Like, you add kind of some of those additional lenses, and marriage equality is both important, and also there's all of these other life and death things that I just don't know that I see the same level of action, or maybe it just doesn't feel like that as an individual.
No, you're super right, but so much of that has to do with popularity as well, right? Like ultimately people are trying to get reelected, and they can't piss off the people that vote for them. So, you know, support for marriage equality nationwide is somewhere in the like 70% range. It's a very popular stance now. It wasn't 10, 15, 20 years ago, but it is now. Support for trans people, like the right to use the bathroom that they want to, is like 50% or less. The right to play in the sport of their chosen gender, it is like 30 or 25%. It's unpopular to support trans people, and that's why they're not getting the protections that they need, and that fucking sucks. I hope we can get there someday. So much of it, I think, is just visibility, exposure, education, and advocacy. But there's a long ways to go. And I also think that there's a rebound effect, right? Like, we're panicking because everybody sort of thought Obergefell passed and we were good forever.
Yeah.
We thought the same thing about fucking abortion rights. It had been the law of the land for 50-ass years.
Yeah.
And that's the upside down, fucked up bullshit goddamn world we live in now. Yeah. Fuck, Kyle. I'm too sick to be this mad. I'm gonna drink this drink.
Okay.
You should too. I made you a drink.
Yeah.
Do you hate it as much as I'm sure you do?
You're coughing because your throat is like dying and you're having like health issues. I started coughing because you made me a whiskey drink that I don't understand, and it was like, maybe just whiskey or something. It was a lot. That's why I started coughing.
It's whiskey and honey and hot water, just a boop of lemon, you know.
It's a boop of everything else, and then all whiskey. It's a lot whiskey.
It's a lot whiskey. Hot whiskey.
Hot whiskey, which is my new drag name.
All right.
Okay, we have to keep talking about other things. I want to, maybe I can cut this later. I sometimes keep in mistakes we make, including mistakes we make around like trans people, trans issues. When you said chosen gender instead of gender and then corrected yourself.
Yeah.
We can talk later about...
No, keep it in.
Okay.
Absolutely keep it in.
Okay.
I think, I believe that I have earned my chops as somebody who cares deeply about the trans community, and I fuck up too.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it, and I think demonstrating that's totally cool.
And I don't think we've like explicitly said that, and this is like might be a good time to say that out loud. If we had a news podcast or a reporting podcast or a polished podcast that is the official final information, we would cut things like that to be like, this is how it's presented. If we were an NPR style podcast, but we're not, we're two people talking. So I like the idea of fucking up, correcting it, and continuing on because that models the behavior. I think a lot of people, including me, even to this day, sometimes worry about the wording of whatever issue it is, trans issues, black issues, disability issues. I worry about saying the wrong thing so I don't say anything. And I'd rather say every single person, every single group has said like, no, say something. If you fuck up, that's fine. And you probably will and correct it and keep going. Like you just have to start and you have to talk about it. So I like leaving that in to model that behavior. And that's why it's in there even after editing. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm down.
There it is.
I also have no shame. So like,
I know I'm the one like sitting there at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, should I text him about this or should I like leave it? Or does he care? He doesn't care. Maybe he will know about that. Yeah. It's okay.
All right. News the second.
Okay,
finally.
Your voice. We're putting it up to this is okay.
I love this. So British Airways has changed their strict guidelines for their flight attendants to allow male flight attendants to wear piercings and makeup while on duty. So they have non-gender specific rules. So all rules apply equally to everybody regardless of gender. So therefore, employees in uniform, again, regardless of gender, can wear mascara, false eyelashes, earrings, nail polish. There are some restrictions. Staff are encouraged to use subtle shades for a natural look, and their nail polish cannot be black or neon. That's are
offensive to goths.
Well, you know.
One step forward, one step to the left.
We know that they're all on United. They can also carry accessories, including handbags. They also are allowing man buns under their new hair grooming guidelines, which were previously prohibited. I just think it's really great that British Airways is like, this is dumb. Let's fix it.
Yeah. It should be the same rules for every gender.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really cool. So I hope to God that the next time I'm on a BA flight that I run into a non-binary flight attendant with just decked out in everything and
just uses all the rules at once.
Yeah, exactly. Like a skirt and a pocket watch and like just the whole thing. Coat
and nails and man bun. And yes. I guess it's just a bun.
Person bun?
Person bun?
That doesn't have the same ring, does it?
No.
But, anyway, the guidelines came into effect just a couple of weeks ago on my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
You're still milking that, man. That was a while ago.
Well,
that's fine. You just found a way to mention it again.
Well.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you. Oh, noteworthy for this episode, they made a point of making those policy changes before their services in and out of Doha, the capital of Qatar.
Oh.
So there were ostensibly some flight attendants some male flight attendants got to wear their fake eyelashes and nail polish on flights servicing the World Cup. So
yeah, that's fucking awesome.
News the last.
Great.
It's actually, I think this is an update, but DC Comics. Oh wait, where'd Derek go? You're gonna lose your shit because I'm talking about comic book shit.
Oh no, he'll have to hear it on the episode when everyone else does.
All right. He's dying. We're all dying. Everyone's dying.
He's getting a Kleenex, I think, because he just jizzed because he heard you talk about comics.
DC Comics, Batman and Robin. So Tim Drake, also known as Robin, is on the cover of an upcoming edition going to be kissing his boyfriend.
Show me love.
Yep. His boyfriend is
love.
Bernard Dowd. And last year they started dating and there was a whole coming out thing. And of course, backlash from dickbag idiots. But now on issue number 6 of Time Drake Robin, the two are going to be kissing on the cover. He's fully Robined out, and he kisses Bernard in the night with his cape blowing in the wind, covering Bernard and the Gotham City skyline in the background. The edition it doesn't come out until February of 2023, so I guess they're trying to get all of the like bigoted bullshit out of the way now by announcing it. I don't know.
Interesting.
But yeah. So anyway, they're adorable, and now there's a same-sex kiss between Robin and his boyfriend on the cover of a DC comic, and I think that's pretty fucking fantastic.
I've seen the squares of him coming out to his dad or something, and it's like a very cute like whole coming out and him being supportive and stuff. And we need all kinds of stories, including stories where just like you come out and someone is like fiercely still loves their child unconditionally, as most parents say, and only some parents do. Like he actually did it. So yeah.
Anytime in fiction of any form that there's a supportive dad, I'm a blubbering mess.
Yeah.
I have daddy issues for sure.
Did that happen to you in Love, Simon? I was like, this is not that good of a movie, but I cried when he came out to Josh Duhamel. I was like, he's so hot and supportive.
I didn't see it.
Oh, spoiler. Sorry. Back in time spoiler.
It's all right.
Hit the back button.
Yeah,
30 seconds, Mike.
Yeah,
forward 30.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if you could edit my brain? You could.
God, I think you can. Have you been editing my brain? Is that why I forget everything? You're just like, let's take away that dumb thing I said. Like,
well, and I'm gonna have to edit this.
Yeah, that's true.
At that time that you realized.
Yeah, that time you realized.
That's
how many other times have I realized that you've edited? How many times has this happened?
Yeah, did you use the flashy thing on me for Men in Black? That's the news, Kyle.
Speaking of the flashy thing for Men in Black, these are our flashy new
superheroes, Kyle. These are our superheroes.
Fuck me, that was better. Flash me, Mike. Let me redo it. And thanks for that transition, Mike. And now I'm going to talk about the superheroes from Patreon, a transition I thought of myself. Thank you to Michael McCrohone. I didn't do that. Nailed right. It. Yeah, I'm not going to even try again. Trevor Nelson, got that one.
Yeah, good work.
Yeah, way to go, Trevor. Christopher Cash, Johnny's grandson. And
Christopher's slightly less cash now. But.
I mean, Christopher like sends based on what he's donating. And Sam Wheeler. Thank you so much to our Patreon members, and I apologize if you want to join Patreon for bonus content. Last month's bonus episode was about math, and there was a lot of
brunch
math brunch math, and there were some really interesting studies I thought that was there. So if you want to join, you get full bonus episodes every month, as well as weekly stuff, more bonus shit, lots of bonus. We need to count up how many hours. It's got to be over 100 hours by now because we've done so much. Anyway, patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
Do it.
Do you want to talk about FIFA and...
Oh my God, Kyle.
Qatar.
Qatar.
It sounds more like an H when you're saying it.
Qatar.
I'm not going to do that every time.
No, that's my understanding. And now, like, I kind of want to just say Qatar because that's how I like naturally said it before.
Yeah.
Going down this rabbit hole of how do you say it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched a couple of YouTube videos and I'm an expert now. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect in play.
That's literally our podcast.
Yeah,
that's I read 2 articles and now let me teach you about it.
Yeah. Which one are you, Dunning or Kruger?
Oh, I'm for sure Dunning.
Okay, great.
You're definitely Kruger.
Great. I love this
right?
for us.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, I think we are just the fact we're not saying Qatar.
Yeah.
The fact we're saying Qatar, that alone, I think, is a step up from a lot of Americans. So I'm giving us basic minimal credit of doing a minimal amount of work to know that part.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. For the credit I gave myself.
Yeah, we've surveyed every Arabic-speaking person in the room, and
I hear no objection. Any objections? Any objections? None. Cool. It passes.
Going with it.
We're trying.
Yeah, we're trying. We are trying. First of all, Kyle.
First of all, Mike.
Are you a soccer fan? Are you a football fan?
I grew up My dad played soccer. He like still plays soccer. Like kind of a little bit. Hi, Dad, if you're listening, please pause the podcast and stop doing this. I told you not to. He like played in leagues that were like, 50 and up. Whereas like, should you be playing this game at your age? But he like, so he is lifelong soccer player. He coached my brother's team. My brother played through high school. I've been to a million soccer tournaments. It's one of those things that when I joke about being gay, I joke about things like not understanding sports or whatever. I understand football. I understand soccer. Soccer, if I was going to pick something, tennis and soccer would be the two that I would actually pick to like actively. That's not, yeah. Like those were the ones I understand.
So the reason we're talking about soccer, anybody under a rock, is that like the FIFA World Cup is happening right now in Qatar. And when the World Cup comes around, it's only every 4 years, which it feels more often than that because I don't care. Do you tune in? Do you pay attention, or you don't follow?
No. I don't give a shit. It lasts for forever. There are a million different leagues, and I don't know or care. That's the part that I don't know. Do you know about or care about FIFA or soccer or?
No, none whatsoever. I just don't.
Do you know like the rule? Do I know more about the rules of soccer than you?
So I played soccer when I was like 5. Which is not really soccer.
Yeah.
That's put a ball out there and watch kids run into each other.
Oh, yeah. That's just swarm the ball because you don't know how to, like, not go run after the ball that's sitting there. And, like, you're, like...
Yeah. Position, what's that?
Yeah.
No, I just, like... The reason I want to have this conversation with you, though, is because listening to all of the discourse about FIFA and all of the issues that they have and their selection of Qatar and Russia the last time, I very much approach it from this position of it's a fucking game and I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Get your shit together. And I need to check that because it is the world's sport. And people care deeply, and it is billions, if not trillions of dollars that are involved. And so for me to be so flippant and dismissive of the whole institution is really, it comes from a position of ignorance and insensitivity that I want to understand better.
There is yes and no. Like it is
or fuck it all, Kyle.
Or fuck it. It's a cultural worldwide phenomenon that the U.S. just hasn't caught. So there is a bit of like, if you just believe it doesn't matter, then you're kind of dismissing a lot of things that every other country or most other countries give a shit about. So I don't want to do that. At the same time, when we're putting it in the scale of things, it is, in fact, a game that people are choosing to play. Unlike a lot of things, you are not born a soccer player. You're not born a football player. If we're kind of stack ranking the importance of things, it is very important. Not as important as other identities that belong to a person. So that's the part that I think it's good coming from this place of like, so much of what we hear is like trying to balance with the importance of soccer and how much people care about soccer and I'm going to call it soccer because I don't know. Fuck you. This is where I live here and this is what we call it. Respect my culture. We call it soccer. But like,
no, some cultures suck. More on that later.
That's true. Oh no, I need to leave this episode right now. I already got uncomfortable. But like, yeah, I don't know. So yes and no, I don't know.
Okay. So
most gays only care about the hot soccer dudes.
Because they're hot. Cristiano Ronaldo, sit on my face.
That has not worked for Darren Criss. Darren Criss.
Yet.
Cristiano Ronaldo. That's true. I think you gotta, but like you can't spread the face sitting around to different celebrities. I think you gotta, if you're gonna
spread
really
those
go,
legs.
I think you gotta go hard at one. So you gotta stick with Darren Criss if you're gonna stick right.
Oh,
you can't. If Darren Criss is like, oh, maybe I'll sit on his face. And he's like, wait, but you also said that about Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, he doesn't actually care about me.
Okay. Counterpoint.
Okay.
I get 3. I can choose 3, but I'm only allowed to change them every 6 months, and then one of them has to fall off to make room for another one.
I'm just picturing the Friends scene where Isabella Rossellini sees him and she goes, but it's laminated. There's a select number of Friends people that will understand that, but anyway. This doesn't matter.
This doesn't matter.
What did you want to talk about? Yes, we're talking about it because it's the World Cup and people care about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
FIFA is the HBIC of soccer in the world, football in the world, and the World Cup, which is the pinnacle. It's like actually a World Series, unlike ours, which is just us in Canada. But it is the governing body of international soccer, and it is a shitty institution. Right, okay. It is corrupt as fuck. So, they awarded the 2018 World Cup to Russia and the 2022 World Cup to Qatar amid lots of controversy that there were payoffs and bribes and that it didn't actually represent the will of the body. Like there was a whole bunch of serious issues. And all of that's because of this guy named Sepp Blatter, which I think sounds like a UTI.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I can't tonight, honey. I got Sepp Blatter.
Exactly. If your Sepp Blatter lasts more than 4 hours, go to the ER. He was the president of the organization at the time that all of these decisions were being made. And he and other top executives were facing corruption charges. And they, since, as part of cleaning up their act, agreed to require, quote, minimum human rights standards for countries that apply to host soccer competitions, including zero tolerance for discrimination based on sexual orientation. What they didn't say was that this is before Russia and Qatar, that they were going to enforce or protect those things the next 2 times, right?
Like, so that comes into effect after this one?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Sure.
There's this weird, like, tiptoeing around recognition that we are just a game, we are just an organization, a very rich and very famous and very popular organization, but this is still a sovereign country where we are going and doing business, and we are subject to the laws of that place and need to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
And lots of people not from that country are going to go to that country to attend this event, and they're going to bring with them their own sensibilities about what they should be allowed to do. And anyway,
there's a lot about this that seems reasonable at face value. The respect our culture, respect our country, respect what we stand for. Like there are certain things, like a lot of it is like, yeah, okay, yeah, we can do that. Like, so I think that's one of the challenges that you have to dig more into to understand more, and remember that what people say is not always, they're not going to illuminate the full picture of what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. So I know that you're going to talk more about like LGBT rights or lack thereof in Qatar. And I think that there's been a lot of focus has been placed on FIFA choosing that country for this year's World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
They also chose Russia 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the midst of all of the Chechnya gay purges that were happening, their anti-gay propaganda law that was coming into effect under the Putin regime. And we should not be surprised. The fact that people are all of a sudden, what? FIFA's doing what?
It's not like they have an impeccable record of only, pristine human rights countries.
You can
in
only
their background.
You can only have that opinion if you've had your own head up your ass.
Right.
Right. Like this is an organization that has had problems with this in the past, and I think we can have every expectation will continue to. So the shit that's going down in Qatar is around, first, by awarding that to that country, there was a whole bunch of migrant work that had to be done to build up the infrastructure to be able to host it. That's basically akin to modern day slavery in terms of the rules around it and how much they're actually getting paid and their ability to leave the country if they want to without permission of their employer. It's horrific, and the camps that they live in while they were building these things. Then there is the big question of alcohol, which they had said there was going to be alcohol allowed in the stadiums. Then just a few days before World Cup was set to open, they said no alcohol allowed in the stadium during play, but that there still would be alcohol just outside, which
it was all hand wavy bullshit. They reneged. Basically, Qatar said, "Yeah, sure, you can totally drink. It'll be fine." And then, like days before it started, said no.
Yeah, which those two things are clearly not on the same level. But I think it speaks to things that they say that are going to happen, and then changing. Like, how much does your word mean? And so that to me is what's important about the alcohol thing.
Yes,
like I don't really care that much about defending the right to drink alcohol. Like that's not on my list of priorities.
I don't either, except that I love booze. But
same. I mean, yeah. As I drink my whiskey, honey, lemon,
it's
whatever.
So good. I hope you love it.
I'm drunk.
Great. Okay.
Goodbye.
Good work. And then there's the whole controversy, which we talked in the news here not too long ago, of rainbow attire and outward support for the LGBT community has been banned from the stadiums. There were a bunch of captains that were going to wear armbands that were in support that were then told not to, or if they did, then they were going to get a yellow card, and that's bad news. Like within the rules of the game, that is going to impact the outcome. And then they said that they would allow it after all. Like there were stories of people having their shit taken away from them on their way into the stadium, and then that stopped after a statement was made by an official that they were going to allow it after all. All of the stuff leading up to the World Cup about like, yes, gay people, you will be safe, just maybe don't hold hands, which that's bullshit. There's a lot going on that we're going to talk more about in it, like taking an institution that's a global institution like this and so popular, hosting it in a place that's so problematic, especially for queer people, and then see real time the culture war in a way different context than we are prepared to approach in the United States. I'm super interested in it.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote down, just like to give it more gravity, is that thousands of migrant workers have died during the construction of the infrastructure. Like,
but were they drunk?
Which it's interesting because I was talking to a straight friend of mine who was like, well, there's more important things than the LGBT rights piece. And it's really difficult because that even comes up around the issues of trans people. Like the percentage, when you look at the percentage, it's like, what do you prioritize? And the percentage of people that it impacts, that unfortunately comes up as how do you prioritize this? What do voters care about? What do people care about? And so the death of thousands of people is huge. That's really important. And that doesn't take away from the major LGBT issues. Like, we don't have to choose, I get to be mad about one thing, And so that's why we're going to focus on the LGBT issues. That's what our podcast is about. That's what we're doing here. Surely there are other people out there who, probably do this better, but also do the other thing better too. Like, this is just what we're going to focus on.
Also, I think that largely mainstream media has sort of forgotten, like, oh yeah, of course a bunch of migrant workers died. That always happens. Moving on. What can we actually care about? And then they focus on booze and queers, right? Like, and that's really unfortunate, but I think that's what's happening. There's this sort of like understanding that anytime a big major international event comes to a place, the Olympics comes to mind. That there's going to be this building of infrastructure, and people are going to die, but it's fine. It's not fine. It's absolutely not fine. Like, that's there's like a collective sweeping under the rug that happens that I think we're sort of complicit in.
Yeah, or queer issues get more clicks because they're more controversial or something. I don't know why that would, even as I say that, that's dumb that queer issues would be more controversial than fucking slave labor. Like, I mean, but we have, effectively slave labor in the U.S., and that's what some of these votes are, and we're in the midterms recently. Like, I mean, we have that, and how often does that get spoken about? Like,
I was just listening to somebody on NPR talking about immigration policy and how we need to fix what's happening at the border so that we have workers to do the work that Americans don't want to do. And I was thinking, well, that's the same thing, right? That's like we need to open the borders so we have brown people to do the shitty labor and die. Right?
The idea that like everyone's like, oh, like immigrants steal work, and then here we are like, God, we need that fucking work. Like it's fucked up. So, I mean, none of this is to dismiss the U.S. as I sometimes like to make or remind people it's easy to look at another country and be like, oh, we would never do that, or we're better than that. So some of these things I think are useful, not to say that they're the same, but to be like, no, we're not fucking better than them. Like this is not your excuse to be shitty to anyone who, lives in that country or whose faith is Islam. Like, okay, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking
Okay,
about
great.
LGBT rights in Qatar.
Yeah, let's do it. They have none. Good segment.
So, yep, it's bad. Goodbye. Sorry,
I'm dying.
Stop it. Die quieter. Qatar's Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy has promised.
That sounds like bullshit.
There's some of these, like, it's like North Korea's Supreme Leader. Like, some of these words, you're like, Jesus, that already. I'm like, yeah, I don't love the.
It's like anytime the Senate puts forward the like America #1 Freedom Act, and you're like, oh, this is for sure against brown people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is definitely racist. But they have promised before the World Cup, they promised a discrimination-free event. And they said that it is welcoming, safe, and accessible to all. They said
Liars.
In the statement, they said, quote, everyone is welcome in Qatar, but we are a conservative country, and any public display of affection, regardless of orientation, is frowned upon. We simply ask for people to respect our culture.
Yeah, I have heard that.
Which...
I've heard that there's some truth to that, which doesn't make any of the rest of it okay.
It's one of those things that seems reasonable. When you hear that and you're like, oh, we just need to respect the culture of the country we're going to, that's reasonable. And especially like, you're like, okay, I'm a good liberal, so that's important to me that I do that. And so when someone says that to you, you're like, okay, shit, I need to stop and think about this. And you do. And you definitely do need to. So like, let's look at what's actually happening though.
Yeah.
So... a lot of what we know about is from people that said they needed to remain anonymous because it's bad that you don't want to say your real name. Like that would definitely like get you repercussions. So
yep.
in the Doha News, an anonymous gay man named Majid said, I'm just going to read this part, quote, it is very jarring living here. It is traumatizing to see that you are the cause of your parents' anguish, that you are shaming your family. It is a constant onslaught and it is killing me. It has caused irreparable damage to my mental health. I wouldn't have chosen to have been born in a place where my life is tantamount to my death. There is no prospect or future for me here. No normalcy. What are my choices? Should all of us gay Qataris emigrate? I have thought of that, but this is my home country. I love my country and I'm proud of it, and I don't have anywhere else to go. So part of what's happening, especially within the country, this reminds me a lot of Russia, is there are mainstream media censors any kind of discussion or reports of sexual orientation or gender identity. And so I think that's within a country, that's how you try to make people believe that it doesn't exist. Or like if you see an uprising, if you see it, there are actually this group of people that do exist and other countries are fighting for their rights or whatever, that might empower you. So they kind of squelch any kind of discussion or news about LGBT issues.
If you don't see it, it isn't real.
Yep. And then within the country, you're like, I don't know any of the truth. The news has been like changed so that I don't see any of the real information. I just see the propaganda or, any of the bad reports or anything. So what we're actually talking about, what's the laws then, there are a couple, but the biggest one is Article 285 of the current penal code, which punishes...
Penal.
It's like penis. We need to find joy anywhere we can in this story, Mike. Let's do it. Penal. It punishes extramarital sex, including same-sex relations, with up to 7 years in prison. So that actually there's a lot of talk about the death penalty, but that seems to be the most realistic kind of actual punishment that is listed in the laws. The death penalty is only applicable for Muslims because of Sharia law. So like if you're Muslim and live there and gay, extramarital sex is punished by death. And because same-sex marriage isn't legal, then any gay sex is extramarital sex. But that technically also applies to anyone who has straight sex. I
had read a couple of times that there are things that are punishable by death that have never actually resulted in the death penalty. Like that somehow justifies it.
Yeah, and this is one of them that it's like, everything is like this, we don't have any kind of recent information about any of this.
Hypothetically.
Yeah, this doesn't actually happen. And what were you going to say? Like, is that fine?
Yeah, no.
No. Okay, cool. That was your yeah.
No. My point was that there are lots of people who say, well, but nobody's ever been actually put to the death for it.
Yeah.
Like that somehow justifies the law, or like that somehow nullifies the understanding that that's happening. Like, it's still a deterrent. It's still this like oppressive wet blanket on your entire life, whether you like, okay, so nobody's actually been put to death for it, but they might, and that's scary.
Oh, my neighbor has threatened me and pointed a gun at me, but he's never actually shot me. Right. So like, oh well, I mean, I guess it's fine. Yeah, like the living under this threat, who knows if and when someone could use it, and the underlying belief that makes it okay that it's sitting there is that it still affects society.
Yep.
Society believes it's okay that that's sitting there on the law books. What I saw less of, but is huge, is that they often will detain people based on law number 17 of the 2002 Protection of Community, which allows for provisional detention. You don't have to be charged. You don't have to have a trial. You can be detained for up to 6 months if there is some kind of belief that there was a crime, or it reminds me of the morality laws that are in that Iran that they're protesting against. Like, if you violate public morality, then we can detain you.
Sure.
They're detained by the Protective Security Department, which is technically not the police. I might accidentally call them the police, but like that's the department, is a national security team.
Going back to Iran, that's like the morality police in Iran. They're not like really the police, but they are. They are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
they were just supposedly abolished this week.
Yeah. But then I've seen the Instagram things that I handle the handles that I follow are like, no, like a person made this proclamation. There's no laws that have been passed about this. It's not like, they're like, no, it didn't actually happen. Like the New York Times fucking published this thing that's like, I've been hearing real shitty things about the New York Times. Like, they public transphobic shit. Like, I've not been hearing good things about the New York Times.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
They like publish this transphobic op-ed, and then later it'll be like, well, there's a crazy wave of transphobia. Like, they're
yeah.
So I don't know.
There's a both sidesism maybe to it. I don't know. The New York Times. Let's talk later about this, because I'm
next episode
as a
New York
subscriber
Times.
to the New York Times. I'm very interested in this.
Okay, so the Preventative Security Department that is detaining people as of October 2022. Why did I stumble over our current year of existence? I don't know.
Well, sometimes I see 2022 on paper. I'm like, what year?
What? Yeah, some year.
Is that the future?
It's like a bunch of twos with an O in it. You know. This is serious and sad. It reports that the Qatari police use, and maybe I wrote police, maybe I think it's the Preventive Security Department, uses gay dating apps to entrap men, subjecting them to sexual and physical violence before arresting them. There was one report by an anonymous person that went by Ali, who was lured to a hotel from a dating app. When he got there, there were 6 people there, including the person that he thought he was going there to meet. So he walked in and was like, fuck.
Well, that never happens to me. I show up and the OP is never there.
There's if I walked in and there's 6 people there are context, that would be hot. It's absolutely not one of them. Yeah. So serious for a second. When he showed up, there were 6 people from this department. He was gang raped by them. And that was the end of my story.
It seems not gay.
It's so weird that would. I also like that. That's such a weird thing. Like, we're so against gay people that we're going to rape a man. Like that.
Yeah.
It's. I don't know. How do you? What's the weird workaround logic? Like, I don't know.
Well, there's argument in like Judeo-Christian circles about like is sodomy the violence of it, or is it the fact that it was in the butt? Because like most people think probably the God and Jesus thing that they're not down with is violating a person.
Right. The bad thing is actually the rape, not the butt part.
Right.
Yeah. But we've interpreted it as, According to Dr. Nasser Mohammed, quote, their biggest targets are feminine gay men and transgender women because it's visible. I'll talk more about Dr. Nasser Mohammed later, but we have had this in the U.S. This is why we often say that trans women, especially trans women of color, are the ones that started this movement is not because they intended to, because they are often the ones targeted. So it's interesting to see that, continue to play out, that when you are visible and whether you want to or not, you are then targeted, and then you unfortunately have to become an activist. Like that's not a lot of times it's like, I didn't want to be an activist. I was just targeted by the police so fucking much. I had nothing else to do.
Yep.
And whereas someone like me, I could more easily pass, here's that word again, I would be less likely to be targeted. Yeah. So I have some benefit that I don't look a certain way.
Yep.
So they arrest LGBT people and subject them to ill treatment and detention. That's the most lighthearted way to describe that. I don't know where I wrote that down, but it's the Human Rights Watch documented from Dr. Nasser Mohammed. Again, we'll talk about him later, but he made these connections because like you cannot be out in Qatar. So like there are all these connections, even in the gay world. This is why like getting catfished on gay dating apps is like so horrific, is like you're underground, you're doing things through connections of people. You're not, you're trying to hide it, and to find out one of those channels is not safe to be on, or, let's say one of your friends ends up, this happens, being converted to an agent because you got caught. Like things you never know for sure that something's safe. So anyway, this guy connected the Human Rights Watch with 6 people, which is more than I've seen anywhere else, that they documented 6 cases of severe and repeated beatings between 2019 and 2022. I don't know why that dates is fucking me up. But it's 6 is not to say that's all that has happened. That is like, again, like you have such limited connections to people who are willing to speak, and all of them are doing it anonymously. There are 5 cases of sexual harassment in police custody between that same time frame. For example, they required for release, they required that one of the trans women attend a conversion therapy session, what they called a behavioral health care center, but it's like flat out conversion therapy.
Yeah.
They forced them to unlock their phones and take screenshots of all of your chats and pictures and everything to then find other people.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Mike.
I was in Dubai
Uh-huh.
not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
You may have heard I did some traveling.
Yeah? Did you tell them about me?
I told them all about you, and they're ready for you. No, I deleted Grindr off my phone before we landed because I was afraid of like, what if I'm going through immigration and they're like, you seem pretty gay.
Unlock your phone.
Unlock your phone. I was like, I deleted a whole bunch of dick pics and I took Grindr off my phone. I was like, oh my God. Because I'd heard stories like this, and I'm like, that is so fucking terrifying. Yeah. And it was fine.
Yeah.
It's like waltzed right out of the airport. But
I mean, the thing is, like, often all of these conversations, they're like, if you're poor, you're more likely to be targeted. If you're more femme or trans, you're more likely to be targeted. Like, if you are a white person, if you are a visitor, if you, as you are based on your skin, if you're like, there are certain things that are like, you're less likely to be targeted. Yeah. And so the same, I think for Qatar, if people go there, they are going to not target anyone that's visiting internationally because they don't want to make this a scene. They may be, more discreet about all the shit they're doing. They may be nicer to other people, and they're like, oh no, I went there and it was fine. Oh, I just didn't hold my boyfriend's hand and everything was fine. And I think that's to hide some of these underlying things that are going on.
Yep, absolutely.
So
there's also like a true thing in the Muslim faith of, they actually don't care that much about what non-Muslims do. Muslims have to toe the line. Like there's a zero tolerance policy for them. But like, if you're not Muslim, then it's maybe okay. It seems to be part of the dogma. Like there are lots of majority Muslim countries where they can serve alcohol, but only to non-Muslims. Like there are whole districts in Doha, in Qatar, where at least in the past, you were able to sell liquor as long as somebody wasn't a Muslim, which I don't know how you tell that. Is you have like a non-Muslim ID card, but there does definitely seem to be part of the faith that is way more interested in policing their own behavior as opposed to the behavior of others.
Interesting. Which is that's weird. There's something refreshing about that of like,
but still not okay.
Not okay. It's like, I wish Christians were like, let's only police Christians' behavior.
Absolutely.
Because they clearly want to be
At least in this country,
in
they're
this
fucking
country,
it up.
Yeah, they're trying to police literally everyone's behavior. So is that a good segue into your segment?
I don't know, Kyle.
Oh,
I'm going to get us kicked off the air.
oh, okay.
I need to pee.
Oh, okay. Is that why? And now here's a 2-minute segment of the sounds of Mike peeing.
I'm doing it now. Some people would be into that, I'm pretty sure.
That's very true.
Okay, I'll be back.
Okay.
Are we back? No,
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
what happened. Okay. I want to talk about cultural relativism
Okay.
and the idea that you have to understand and mitigate your feelings about another culture based on how they think about themselves as opposed to a universal truth.
Okay.
And it's sort of the same principle by which we let like old people off the hook. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like oh no, they're from a different generation, and that excuses racism, homophobia, transphobia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been sick, as everyone can hear, and
Some people think your voice has just been getting sexier. So I don't know. I don't know if you want to find a way to maintain this level. You got some positive feedback on your sick voice.
That's true. That's true. Or was it my sick hair? Because my sick hair was also pretty good.
Oh, that's true.
Pretty good in that picture.
You did one of those, I just woke up, but you would clearly like spend some time.
No.
No, okay.
I woke up like that.
Okay.
I did. I woke up
Okay,
like that.
Beyonce, that's fine. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's how you
I
look.
was adorable. It was good
Yeah.
lighting. Okay. Okay. So
Okay.
I went down this K-hole of watching YouTube channels run by Muslims and their thoughts, feelings, and opinions about FIFA and the World Cup, but specifically about gay stuff.
Yeah.
And I have arrived at this point where I find now the whole faith terrifying.
Okay.
And I'm legit nervous about it. Like I'm the stand that I want to take or have taken in my heart, and I'm just afraid to like say it, is that religion, with almost without exception, hates gay people, and I think that I'm prepared to say that that's wrong. That moral relativism is unacceptable in this context, and that there are a universal set of truths that we can rely on that supersede religion or culture, and basic human rights and dignity trump those things. So I want to have a conversation about that. I have lots of like facts about like what's halal and what's haram, and like what Islam says, and what's in the Quran and what's not. But like I really, there's this weird sandwich as a liberal person in this country. There's this weird like layered approach that I have that still arrives at Islam is wrong, and I think they're stupid, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I also feel that way about most Christianity.
Yeah.
And so there's a certain amount of like xenophobia that might be present in this. But like on the whole, that religion subjugates and oppresses women, hates gay people, is absolutely intolerant of any outside influence or appeal to higher principles. And the whole thing is really terrifying. Like, have you studied this at all? Have you looked into this at all?
I want to say like what you described is also exactly how I feel about Christianity.
Okay.
All those things you said, hates gay people, on the whole, oppresses women, rejects outside influences or whatever, like that to me, you also describe Christianity. Is that, I mean, would you say the same things about Christianity?
Not to the same extent.
Okay.
And close, but not to the same extent.
And is that just because we know some of the nuances, or we know people like Joseph Peters Matthews is a priest that is supportive of LGBT issues? There are certain sects or divisions, or I don't know, denominations that are supportive of LGBT people. Is it just because of our knowledge of Christianity that we give them a little bit more leeway? That would be the part that I would worry about. There's a difference in.
I have not studied this, but my gut tells me that Christianity, slowly but surely, is yielding to Western principles of egalitarianism and feminism and being affirming of gay and sexual identity minorities, GSRM, gender and sexual relationship minorities.
Yeah, yeah. And I have not gone down the this kind of level of understanding. So I mostly just need to learn from what you've researched, I think, to understand that.
One thing that has emerged from watching all of these YouTubers is that they very much are posturing our angst about gay rights at the World Cup as just us being Islamophobic and hating their religion, and they therefore don't have to look any further than what's being said. They can immediately just dismiss everything as being like, well, you're just Islamophobic.
I think that's a fair concern to be worried about. We certainly, on the whole, the average American is going to be Islamophobic and xenophobic. So I understand that concern. But I mean, I just described a bunch of things that I didn't talk about. I talked about religion literally one time, and everything I described and what I described is horrific. Yeah. The treatment of LGBT people in that country is horrific. Yeah. And so if that's being influenced by their religion, which I think it is, you can't, if you just purely dismiss it, then that's homophobic. Now we're having a war of you're xenophobic. Well, you're homophobic.
Well, so Qatar's constitution says that Sharia law is the main source of their legal system. And it includes a whole bunch of stuff, including family law, inheritance, criminal acts, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that just is wrong. Yeah. The idea that in family courts, a female's testimony is worth half that of a man's. Islamic polygamy is permitted, so men are allowed to have multiple wives in that system.
And I take it not the other way around.
And not the other way around. Corporal punishment is the way that they enforce a lot of their rules. Flogging or caning is employed as a punishment for alcohol consumption, sexual relations outside of one man and one woman for the purposes of procreation. For instance, adultery, the penalty is 100 lashes. Like I was saying in an earlier segment, Muslims are the ones that receive those punishments. There's a sort of understanding that they police their own and are less interested in the crazy shit that non-Muslims do. But stoning is still a legal punishment under that system. Apostasy, homosexuality are crimes that are punishable by the death penalty.
What is apostasy?
Apostasy
you can't pretend to be an apostle.
Apostasy is a saying that you're no longer a Muslim.
Oh, you can't even leave?
You can't leave.
Wow.
That's punishable by death. Blasphemy, you can go to prison.
God, I haven't been blasphemed in so long.
Blasphemy me, daddy.
Blasphemy, daddy.
Quick aside, just because I just saw the note for it.
Sure.
There was, just like Canada in the 50s or whatever with the fruit machine, there was a proposed homosexuality test called the GCC test, which that stands for Gulf Cooperation Council, which is a group of countries that are all in bed together because Islam. Yeah. And they were trying to prevent any homosexuals from traveling to those countries. And several years ago, the director of public health of Kuwait was trying to say that all of the countries that are in that conglomerate should impose this test ahead of the World Cup so they could make sure that no faggots came to their...
I saw that that proposal that didn't come to fruition, luckily, because what the fuck are you gonna do? But I saw that was a potential or in discussion.
Apparently, they didn't really know how they were going to implement it either, except that there's lots of documentation about routine medical examinations anal probes. They were going to inspect buttholes to see if they had been violated recently to decide whether you were a homosexual.
Yeah.
Which and you're right. It did not come to fruition, but like putting the fruit in fruition.
Yeah, sure.
But that was a seriously discussed thing to make sure that no gays would come to this thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The sentence that I'm afraid of, I guess, is if owning women and controlling their lives, if killing gay people is Islamophobic, and that's what a lot of them are saying on YouTube is that it is, then I guess I'm Islamophobic. Like, I don't know how to reconcile that. Can you help me figure out how to navigate that? Because I feel like a bad liberal, but like I guess I am, because I think it's wrong. I'm prepared to say your religion is wrong. Fuck you.
Okay, here's what I figured for in the US, and I got into a discussion with someone on Facebook Messenger, and I forget your name and don't even know if I'm allowed to say it, but thank you for the discussion. When I mentioned that a practice in conservative Judaism is to suck the blood off of a infant's penis during the circumcision.
Yeah.
I think one of the complaints that they brought up that is important is that does happen, and it is very rare. It is not like commonplace.
Sure.
One of the issues, and I thought through that a lot, because it's same as you. I'm like, I view myself as a supportive, liberal, understanding basic human rights, kind of person. When I complain about Christianity, I feel very confident saying fuck Christians, and I don't care if there are denominations that support LGBT people. We have friends who, I don't know, like whatever. They are the dominant religion in our country that are attacking LGBT and specifically trans people in this country. So I feel really comfortable with that and especially because they are the majority. Yep. So when you attack other religions, especially in the US, when they are minorities, it can make them feel like it is okay to then be xenophobic, to be Islamophobic, to be like, as much as I say, if we say, I disagree with this religion, I also don't want anyone in the US to be attacked because of their practice or believed or perceived religion. Like, I don't want that. That should not give us a license to treat people differently. I believe basic human rights means that I both hate that treatment of women and gay people, but I also don't want anyone to be treated poorly because of their belief.
Yeah.
So I both don't want, I can dislike the religion, but I want the fundamental person to have that same level of respect that I believe everyone deserves, which is why this conversation is happening in the first place.
Yeah.
It just has disproportionate, like criticizing Christianity versus other religions in the US has a disproportionate impact and can't be treated the same. And that's what I kind of realized through this religion. So I may continue to criticize them, but I think I've done a fair job of I mostly critique Christianity. That was one critique that I had against conservative Judaism. I may have misled to make it seem like that was every practice when I should have been more specific about what they do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's kind of the balance that I've tried to understand or bring to it.
Is it possible for a redneck and me to say the same thing for different reasons and have that be okay? Or am I just automatically a dickbag bigot because, I'm not automatic. You just said all the reasons why. But
I think here's the thing. I think can easily slip out something like fuck Christians or fuck Christianity, and that should be fine. And I need to be careful about anything else. If you said something without context or if you just said like, I hate Islam, like that alone, that's pretty fucked up. Like, you have to give a little bit more context, because someone could very easily take that and run with it and then start targeting people in the wrong way.
Yep.
I think you have to give more context and information around what you're saying and be more careful about how you say it. So yes, I don't think you should say, and so many times online you hear these dog whistles, and time again, people say the same thing. Someone just asking, define a woman, automatically I know you're transphobic.
Yeah.
There is an interesting conversation to be had around what is a woman. That's an interesting conversation to have that I don't, at 99% of the time someone's asking online, I don't think they mean that.
Yep.
And I would love to have that conversation with someone who actually wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
Probably even a trans person or a trans doctor who could talk to us about that.
Yep.
So so you should not make the same statement as that Republican dickbag. Sorry, I changed the whatever he said to Republican because that's what I heard.
Yeah. Mostly
Republicans.
Mostly Republicans, yeah. One thing that I think is really interesting that I found watching all of these YouTubers is first how sincerely they seem to believe that it is true and impenetrable. Like the Quran and the Muslim faith seem to me to be far more organized and unilateral than most of Christianity. A lot of Christianity is like, well, it's all about faith and there's so many different sects that you can choose from. As near as I can tell, the differences between different Islamic faiths are very minor compared to like Christianity. That's just what I saw online, which is probably a skewed sample, and I fully am aware of that and would love to learn otherwise.
Yeah.
But I heard lots of variations on we hate the sin but not the sinner. And I also think that the Quran is far more definitive than the Bible on that, like homosexuality is bad.
I mean, some Christians would say it's definitive. So
right, there's more academic discourse about that in the Christian sphere. I'm not an expert.
No, you're the one that watched this. So like, I'm just trying to provide the like. There are similarities in Christianity that make it not. Yeah.
One question I thought was really interesting. Somebody said, if the World Cup were in England and a Qatari player wanted to wear an armband that was pro-polygamy, would that be tolerated?
I mean, I hope so. I'm totally fine with polygamy if you divorce all of the other surrounding meanings and religion and everything. Polygamy, like open relationships and like non-monogamy, cool. I'm fine with polygamy.
Yeah.
But then you add the context of culture and religion and everything is what makes it weird. Like people associate it with like underage marriage, and okay, that's because the Mormon church. That's not because of the concept itself. That's because of Mormonism. Like
yeah. So
yes, I'd be fine with that.
The thing is, this person said this as if it were a slam dunk. Like, all you have to do is think about it that way, and then you realize that it's okay for them to hate rainbows. When it didn't have the impact that he thought it was going to have on me, the listener, because my first thought was I would hate it, but yes, go for it.
Yeah.
Put a fucking swastika on your uniform. I will hate it, and I will think that you are a dickbag, but like, go for it. Free speech and freedom of expression is not a value that we share. Right. The fact that they thought, of course, we would shut that down and it wouldn't be okay. It would be controversial and people would flip out, but it would probably be okay. I don't know. FIFA might shut it down though because pinkwashing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I wanted to touch on briefly is. There was a guy who was talking about how in Islam, if you are tempted to do something and don't do it because it is a sin, that equals rewards in heaven. So from their perspective, it's actually a blessing to want to bang dudes and not do it. Like that's part of the messaging.
Oh, whoever wrote that was defo gay. That's what gay people are like. Closeted gay people are always like, no, everyone can decide because I chose to be straight. I chose to marry my wife. And it's like, no, not everyone. You just don't know that you're just gay and not everyone feels that same feeling. Right.
But like add on to, like in the Catholic faith, it's okay to have same-sex attraction or to struggle with same-sex attraction.
Yeah.
It's just not okay to act on it. This is the same thing.
Yeah.
The difference is in Islam, you will be rewarded in heaven for not doing it.
I mean, but with what? What do I get out of it?
Like virgins.
Oh,
you get like tangible rewards in the afterlife.
Man, I would love to be rewarded with virgins.
Give
I
me
don't
all
think
the-
wait, hold on. That's not, I want to have the sluttiest dudes. I want them to have fucked so many fucking people that they know what they're doing.
I
The
don't
reward
want to,
isn't
I don't have to
virgin.
teach them.
I don't want a new, like, oh, here's how you do sex good. No, I want
I
dudes
want
that
a
have fucked.
worn-in, comfortable sweater.
I want a dick that has been inside so many assholes, he's forgot what it feels like to touch air. Okay.
The brainwashing of that I find disturbing.
Yeah.
The idea that we can affirm that you might be gay or want to be gay, and fighting it is not just a neutral thing or an expectation, but fighting it is good.
Yeah.
Fighting it means after you're dead, you'll get more awesome shit in the afterlife. That is so toxic.
There's
and
an
I'm
addition-
so against that.
There's an
And
additional level besides just like, oh, it's not bad. It's actually good that you're fighting this. Like that's an extra level of like mind fuck
Like,
that it's adding to.
I
it.
wish I were gay so I could not fuck dudes so
Yeah.
God would love me more.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? It just, it's fucked up and it's stupid and I hate it.
Yeah.
And I'm disturbed. This whole episode has now disturbed me. And, I wish we hadn't done it. Great.
All right. Well,
Let's move on.
edit, delete. We're skipping 2 weeks in a row. Sorry, you don't know that because you never heard this episode. Something that I wanted to read that I think is valuable.
Yeah.
So I read there is one out gay Qatari.
Yeah.
I mentioned it before. He's the one that referred the Human Rights Watch to 6 people to get some of those anonymous stories, Dr. Nasir Mohammed. And he said this that I think is a useful way to kind of recap this whole thing.
Okay.
But he's done a bunch of awesome shit. He's started an organization. He lives in the U.S., so he can't live there and be out. So he lives in the U.S. And has come out, and he's a fucking doctor, he's a physician, which is amazing. So he's the right person to do this and make this change. And he started the Alwen Foundation to advance LGBTQ plus rights across the Gulf region and especially Qatar. If you want to go to alwenfoundation.org, that's ALWAN foundation.org. You can donate there. He's in contact, he says, with hundreds of Qataris, which that's far fewer than, of course, are out. He started the Proud Maroons, which that's apparently Qatar's national team's color is maroon.
Okay.
I wouldn't have known that. But like LGBTQ plus supporters of their national football team, which is like really cool to be like, yo, I'm gay and fucking love this sport. Like he said about attending these events, he said sometimes we, as trying to be good liberals, are like, should I even go to this? What level of support? He said, quote, if you're a diehard soccer fan and you really, really want to go, then you're not an awful person for going and watching the games, but there are ways to advocate for the cause and push it. So he's not just an absolutist, and it seems like a reasonable, he's done a lot of awesome shit. Anyway, and I'm building up to the point is, they asked the question in this interview I read, isn't there a risk that the LGBTQ plus outcry is emboldening? Did I say that right? Awesome. Good work. I should have done that in my head instead of out loud. It's fine. Emboldening Islamophobia. So I will just read what he said. There are, of course, xenophobic and Islamophobic twists to the topic. It's being used by everybody. It's being used by the abusers to gaslight people that are trying to advocate to keep them silent. And also, there are truly xenophobic and Islamophobic people who are having that confirmation bias moment, and they're like, oh, I knew Islam is shit, or oh, I knew Arabs are shit, which is bringing more hate and is really not helping the situation. I think everybody should participate in human rights conversations, regardless of where they're from or what their religion is. Believing that violence and human rights violations are specific to any culture or any religion is totally xenophobic and Islamophobic.
Wait, say that last part again.
Believing that violence and human rights violations are specific to any culture or any religion is totally xenophobic and Islamophobic. What are you having trouble with there?
I think I disagree.
Okay. Explain.
This is the conversation I was trying to have about like higher principles. The idea that like gay people are okay, leave them alone. Mm-hmm. I think trumps any religious text or dogma or interpretation or messaging. And I think it's okay to say specifically Islam hates gay people.
But to believe that Islam is the only religion and others are good. He said, like, to believe that this country...
I do not believe that they are the only ones.
So I think you're fine.
I think
you're covered.
Many do.
And I think that's the point. To be like, oh, it's just Qatar or it's just Islam that does this. That's what he's saying. To believe that it is specific to any culture or any religion. It is just that culture, just that religion. I think that's the point he's making. I think you're safe in your belief that it is not just Islam that's the problem. It is
limited to is what I'm not like getting. Okay,
I don't know. You can send him an email if you want to argue that wording of that. But I think the point is to be like, oh yeah, Islam, they're treating people shitty. They're a shitty religion, and not look at the shittiness that goes on in all religions, including Christianity. Like that, I think that's the point. We're not singling out one for its bad treatment when other religions get a pass. Yeah. Which I don't think you're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Mike.
Dicks are great.
Okay. We're going to start our own Bible, and that's going to be like the first, what the fuck is the stone tablets? The first testament or whatever is going to be dicks are great.
Yep.
I love it. I mean, kind of end of Bible, right? End of the Gayish Bible. Do we need to keep going? I don't know.
Let's do a Gayish Bible next year.
Okay, I can't
That'll
wait.
Be fun.
Oh my God, it's going to be in every hotel.
We could just start printing them and leaving them in nightstands.
Yeah, we'll leave them in hourly motels because honestly, that's our target market. Let's be honest. They're more likely to be down with us. Something we didn't talk about that I want to talk to you about over the break, because this episode is already real fucking long, is David Beckham. Known hot person David Beckham is a brand ambassador for the fucking World Cup.
Oh yeah.
So I want to talk more about him and his gay icon status.
See, I want him to sit on my face, but I will not put him on my punch card.
Oh, you would refuse that ass on your face?
I didn't say that.
Mike, you had it. If you're gonna draw the line. You can't let him sit on your face. Or when he does, you got to make it real bad. Like he sits on your face and you go like something real bad that's just like makes it horrible. Like technically you got it on your face, but he didn't feel good about it. We'll talk about this during the Patreon segment.
All right. You want to take a break and talk about it?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
Are we ready? Are we good? Are we missing anything?
I think we're good.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest, but first, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We are on social media. Mainly our communities are Discord or the Gayish community on our Facebook group or Spaces. So join us there.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails. It's 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rate supply.
Your voice is getting just to the home stretch. Just hang in there, and then it can peter out.
Doing great.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
Gayest Straightest?
Yeah, let's do our Gayest and Straightest.
I'll go first.
Okay, do it.
My gayest is when I wash my jeans, I don't dry them because someone says that wears them out. So I turn them inside out and then hang dry them, which having a specific drying technique for your jeans feels kind of gay to me.
Yeah. Okay, so someone I used to live with taught me that he would just put his instead of washing them at all, would just put his jeans in the freezer. That would kill all of the germs.
So that would kill the bed bugs?
Yeah. So, yeah. And then it was fine.
I don't know that not that I'm too, who am I to, I don't know. Okay. My straightest, we already mentioned the whiskey drink that you made me. So instead I'll go with, my straightest is there are some just basic tasks that don't feel gay or exciting. And they're just things that you forget that gay people have to do in their lives. I had to call insurance about something. I had to call the unemployment line about something. I just do like basic boring shit that you're like, being gay is fun and you fuck all the time. And it's like, no, sometimes you have to call insurance and be like, hi, it's me. I'm a human.
Sometimes you have to get your oil changed.
Sometimes you have to get your oil changed, more metaphorically, because I don't have a car.
Dipstick.
That's rude.
The straightest thing about me this week is so many hot toddies.
Yeah.
They're full on grandpa style. Like, it's just,
Yes.
they're hot and they are whiskey.
And like toddy is like, hot toddy is like, who says that?
It is 85 plus
Yep.
year old style. Okay. And then the gayest thing about me this week was SNL this weekend had a sketch about women who had dated Drake.
Okay.
And at the end, they all held hands and they sang 525,600 shotties. And I was like, I was indignant. I was like, you can't ruin that song. You can't make Drake banging a bunch of chicks be that song from Rent. You can't do that. That song's for us. That is not for you.
Okay. I think it was Autostraddle, the website that I found this in, where they said because of a lyric in the song, I think I even read it on this podcast, they were like, he's a he/him lesbian. And I can think of literally nothing. It was something like, oh, like you like women, I do too, or something that he said like, oh yeah, like I like women, like I'm a lesbian, or something that like he/him lesbians were like Drake. I just cannot think of anything else but that with him. And apparently now the Rent song.
Also, he's hot.
Also, he's hot.
Yeah. We have a listeners, Gayest and Straightest. Oh my God.
Okay. Almost. We're so fucking close, Mike. We're so close.
In the home
so
stretch
close.
now.
I'm
Stretch
so
me
close.
out.
So this is from our Discord server, and I'm going to read the full thing, which is very Mike of me. The context is this last week I was on a work trip to San Antonio for a centrifuge training. What the fuck does that mean? I have no idea, but it sounds very cool. You're cooler than any of us. This is where they teach us. Thank you. It's spinning. This is where they teach us how to not pass out under high sustained G forces up to 7.5 Gs by putting us in a huge centrifuge and spinning us around. Again, that explains technically, but not like, are you a fucking astronaut? If so, you're the coolest listener. Or maybe you just love being spun. Which gay doesn't? Straightest. Debating with another student the best ways to rope a cow from horseback. Gayest.
Like I only know of one way, which is to fail. Like
just to stare at the rope and be like, you're not doing what you're doing nothing. Gayest. Barely holding my shit together while the instructors kept spitting out these golden quotes while coaching us on our technique in the centrifuge. Here are some of those quotes.
Oh, are you going to put on your instructor voice for this?
Be on the offensive with your butt.
Yeah.
Squeeze your cheeks like you're going to pick up a cob of corn.
Oh, God.
Legs, butt, abs, tight.
Tight.
Spoken repeatedly as a mantra. Legs, butt, abs, tight. Leg, butt, abs, tight. I say that too. Get it tight. Keep them tight.
Get it right. Get it right. Get it tight.
So thank you, Valente One.
Thank you, Valente One.
That was a beautiful Gayest and Straightest, and I loved it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you to Muhammad.
Sure. Love him.
There is one God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet.
Oh, let's post an image of him to show everyone how much we care. Thank you to Mike's voice for holding out. And
that's a strong.
For some of you, you like this voice better. And I'm going to have to punch Mike in the throat from now on to replicate the experience.
They might be into that too.
Oh, you know what? So much you're all into. I'm so excited about it. I don't know. Thank you to this fucking dude. I keep fucking forgetting his name. Dr. Nasser Mohammed. Thank you for being out and being awesome. Also, thank you to our super gap bridgers, Christopher M., John Crowley, Stephen Porch, Yost Osel, Harry Shaw, Josh Copeland, Jonathan Montanus, Forrest Nail, Patrick Martin, James Barrow, Steve Douglas, Wilson Lasagna, Just Jamie, Kevin Henderson, Thomas B., Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York. Thank you for supporting us in the largest way we offer.
Thank you, even though we skipped a week.
Yeah.
And we don't deserve your money. You're still giving it to us.
We do give it to us.
That's it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatorian Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you. Goodbye.
Bye.